Hey guys, I just wanted to do a really quick video on how to produce your detailed drawing for the G-clamp, and you can use this same method with everything else. If you go through your Classroom 365, what you'll find is a folder in there, Graphics, which is under Files, and then you'll get into here, Detailed Template for Inventor. That's the one you want to open up. You might need to save it first, I think, and it will give you a blank template just like this. Now, the reason I get you to use this one is because I've already done a lot of formatting and made it so that it's an A4 size so that we can print out, and you can quite easily change all these things. Like I said in class, there will always be one person who doesn't change this text and it looks really bad on an assignment. So all you have to do to change the text for your part name, so I'd be calling this G-clamp parts, would be to double click on the text, highlight, and it's just like a Word document, and you can change that. This part here is fairly handy. What I can do is I normally just keep it down there while I'm doing my drawing, and I'll show you why in a second, but we can copy and paste this anywhere. And what's really handy is that this is already formatted so that I've got my text height of 3mm here for the part name, and part material is 2.5. So that's, I'm pretty sure that's the standards, and it looks quite smart on the sheet. So looking through here as well, if we go to the example, let's have a look at this. I've got my scale 1:1. That means every part on this page is drawn 1:1 scale unless stated otherwise. So as we have a look here, these are all will all be assumed to be 1:1 scale. However, if we look at this clamp jaw, it's been scaled down to 1:2. So just so it could fit on the page. So if anything's different from the title block, we need to state it. A few other things here that I haven't quite changed yet. So designed by Mr. Example, that would be your name that you'd put in there. This is our third angle projection symbol. We'll keep this here for this drawing because that's what we're doing here with our third angle projection. If this was just a 3D view, you would delete this symbol because it's not relevant. I'll quickly show you how to place a view, and we'll talk a little bit about dimensions. So if I go to base, I can go to this folder here and I should be able to find my G-clamp, and like I was saying to you guys the other day, make sure you've got everything in here labeled correctly and all the rest of it. And then you'll be able to find it easy. So I might start off with the G-clamp body, and I'll just click on open and it places it there for me. I'm then just going to move this G-clamp in this corner here, and I'm going to click OK. Now that it's put that there for me, like my front view as such, I can then go projected, click on that, and pull out my left side view. Here's the part where you're going to need to listen up, because to get that to stick there, I've just left clicked. Now I'm going to right click and I'll go to create, and it places that view for me. Once I've placed them, I can still manipulate them and move them, but I just need to create them first. With the scale, if you realize, oh whoops, I've put these in and they're too big, go to the first one you started working on, double click on it, and you'll be able to change the scale here just by clicking down. You can select a few different scales. Nothing's changed there, which is all good. Got a few different styles here, so you can get rid of your hidden lines. Now, this style here, we can chain it to our original. It's not coming up at the moment for some reason. But we might have a look at that later in the video. So to do our dimension, if I go to annotate, I've got my dimensions here. And we'll just have a look what we did for the example. So we did an overall over the top, a couple up the side, and then we did our radiuses here. Now, like I said before, the rule of thumb to stick to is if it's part of a circle, we dimension it with a radius, so the R. If it is a complete cylindrical shape, like this spindle cap, we're going to use our diameter. Let's have a look how we do that. So we'll just continue to do this one here. So go back. So I won't do them all because I don't want this video to go forever. But if I just click from there to there, I can pull up my dimension. So I'll do my longest one first. And I've got this selected so that it edits the dimension every time. So at the moment my units, I've said I'll just go to no decimal place and I'll click OK. If I had a really fine measurement, so if we go back to this one here, I think the finest measurement we go to is 5.5. So you would just change that setting when you dimension that hole so that it gives you 5.5. We don't want to have a decimal point and 2 zeros after every single measurement, and because we're going to Australian standards, we don't need to put millimeters behind every measurement either. So that's how you do a general dimension. If we want to do this hole and thread, if you go to hole and thread and just select the internal thread, it will come up with a number for you there. If I double click on it now, it's going to make a liar out of me. I've just pressed escape. Now if I double click on it, I can edit this dimension. So I don't really need to tell it that it's gone 25 mil through. So if I just delete that part of it, that should give me my diameter 12. But in actual fact, we probably want it to say, yeah, M12, because it is a thread. So I'm going to come into here, double click on that, get rid of that diameter symbol, and I'll put in a capital M. And on the example, I think we went by 1.75, so that's our thread pitch. And so that's changed the measurement there for us, which is pretty cool. Now when I go to do my dimensioning here, I'll just do a left click and left click again, and it will put in my dimension for me. One of the things I don't want to see is, oh, just going to try and edit. Doesn't want to play the game. I'll try and do another one. So it's very important that our dimensions aren't on top of our job like that. That goes against the standards, and the reason being that someone could get confused and they could think that you're wanting them to either engrave or emboss the letter R and 5 onto their job. So it's pretty important that all of our dimensions, I don't know why I can't move this. I used to be able to move it all the time. I'm just going to delete it. All our dimensions are off the actual workpiece. The other thing we need to think about here is that there is a hole going through this job. So anywhere there is a hole, I'm going to chuck a center line. So there's my center line there showing the center of the hole, which is good. And if we were to move, just have to go over here and go create. Over to here, we have another hole, so it's worth putting a center point into this hole. So I think that kind of covers the basics for dimensions. The only thing I needed to show you was how to get the 6.5. So I'll come back over here. So if you're having trouble selecting the dimensions, sometimes I find it's just handy to hit escape. So this is where you change how accurate you want to measure to. So we'll see if this does it. There you go, it's given me to 2 decimal places there, just by changing this primary unit. I'm going to go back to 1 because I don't need to know that it's to 0.00, and I'll click OK. So that's how you get your 5.5 for that other part of the drawing. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some text in under here. Now, I might move this whole thing up just a little bit for now, and you'll see that the dimensions are chained to it, which is cool. If I click on that text now, and I'll go right click, copy, and then I'll go paste, I could have all my drawings done, and I could just go text there, 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 wherever I've got my parts, and then I can quite easily come through and edit this. So I'm going to delete that. Oop. And so then I can change my part name and part material. So it should be looking something very similar to this. I think that pretty much covers it, guys. Just remember to just put in your first view, then right click and create, and then project it from there. The only other thing I forgot to mention was that when you do your save, come up and do a file save as, and then that way you can keep this as your blank template for every other drawing that you do throughout your time in graphics. Cool, guys. Well, hopefully that helps.